Chosen one. Heaven interrupts your scroll. The noise around you suddenly softens. Time itself seems to pause, and it's not coincidence. This is divine intervention. You have been pulled here not by the algorithm, but by assignment. The Spirit of God has chosen this moment to reach through the static and speak directly to you. This is not random, this is revelation. You have felt it lately, that tug in your chest, that stirring that refuses to let you settle. That's heaven calling your name. Listen carefully. You have endured pain others could not have survived. You've smiled through storms, stayed silent while misunderstood, and kept walking when every voice around you told you to stop. What they didn't know is that you walk under divine instruction. You are not just surviving, you are being sculpted. Heaven has been shaping your character for the weight of what's coming. Every delay has been disguised preparation. Every heartbreak has been a holy classroom. You thought you were waiting for a blessing, but heaven was waiting for your maturity. As you stand here, between what was and what's coming, the Spirit reminds you that what's ahead will require faith stronger than before. You cannot bring yesterday's doubt into tomorrow's promise. Something sacred is happening inside you. The call has intensified because heaven knows your readiness has arrived. Your isolation was not punishment, it was promotion in progress. You are not behind, you are right on divine schedule. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God goes with you. This is the banner over your life right now. You are stepping into uncharted territory, but you are not stepping alone. God is going with you. Every invisible fear that has tried to whisper defeat into your heart is being silenced by that promise. The same presence that walked with Moses through the Red Sea and sustained Elijah in the wilderness is surrounding you at this very second. You may not see him, but you will feel his nearness as the winds of destiny begin to shift in your favor. You have been praying for confirmation. This is it. Heaven is saying, move forward, even trembling. Speak up, even uncertain. Obey, even when it costs you. You will regret hesitation more than you will ever regret faith. Your blessing depends on your obedience. This is the season where delayed action equals delayed favor. You cannot postpone what heaven has already placed before you. The instruction has been given, now it's your move. Do not scroll past this. Do not treat this like another message. This is a divine appointment, an echo from eternity, reminding you that you carry too much light to hide. The enemy has tried to convince you that you are forgotten, that your voice no longer matters, that it's too late. But the truth is, the very thing you thought was ending is just beginning. Heaven has already signed your name onto the next chapter. You are about to walk into rooms your pain prepared you for. Breathe deeply for a moment and realize you are still standing. That is proof that grace never left you. That is evidence that your purpose is stronger than your wounds. God doesn't waste brokenness, He rebuilds it into testimony. Every scar is now a seal of survival, and soon it will become a story of glory. The opposition you faced wasn't meant to destroy you, it was heaven's way of revealing what you're made of. You were forged in fire to handle divine weight. And remember this truth. Chosen one, what heaven births through you will outlive you. Your obedience today plants seeds for generations you will never meet. Angels record each moment of faith, and your legacy is being written in unseen ink across eternity. Every yes you whisper now echoes forever in heaven's halls. So now, chosen one, heaven asks you to respond, not out of emotion, but out of faith. If this message resonates in your spirit, do not keep it hidden. Someone else scrolling tonight might be seconds away from giving up, and your simple act of obedience could become their divine rescue. Share this message, like it, and subscribe so that the flow of these heavenly reminders continues reaching the hearts that need it most. When you share light, darkness loses its grip. And before you move on, seal this moment prophetically. Type this number in the comments, 777, the symbol of divine completion and covenant. By typing it, you are declaring, I will not miss my blessing. I choose faith over fear. Heaven is watching, waiting for your agreement. Step into it. Your blessing depends on it. From the beginning, chosen one, you were never ordinary. Before you could speak, before your name was ever whispered on earth, it was already spoken in heaven. You were marked from birth. Heaven's light traced itself into your DNA, writing purpose into your bones. Every cell within you hums with divine design. This is why you never fit in. This is why you felt misunderstood, even in rooms filled with people. The mark of the chosen one cannot blend with the patterns of the common crowd. You have always been different, not because you sought to be, but because heaven set you apart. Long before you experienced pain, joy, or failure, God had already stamped you with calling. You were hidden for a reason. While others were being celebrated publicly, heaven was cultivating you privately. You were not overlooked. You were preserved. Every delay in your life was heaven's form of protection. Had you been promoted too soon, your purpose would have been diluted by immaturity. But heaven was patient, shaping your character in silence so your foundation could bear the weight of destiny. There were moments when you questioned it. Why the isolation? Why the struggle? Why the sense of being other? But the truth is, heaven's fingerprints were all over your timeline. You could not fail even when you tried, because the mark on you is stronger than the mistakes behind you. You carry an anointing that cannot be erased by shame. You are a vessel of divine fire, and that fire will not let you live small. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 10, we are God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works prepared in advance for us. Let that truth rest deep within you. You are God's masterpiece. Every line of your life, even the messy ones, contributes to a divine artwork only heaven fully sees. You were sculpted with intention, painted with purpose, and framed by grace. Nothing about you is random. The pain you've endured was not punishment. It was part of the portrait. The scars, the lessons, the tears, all are brushstrokes of destiny forming a picture that will soon make sense. Think back on the seasons you thought would destroy you. Remember the nights you asked, why me? The answer was always this: because you are chosen to carry something few can handle. You are a carrier of sacred weight. The enemy saw your potential long before you recognized it yourself. And that's why you were attacked so early. The warfare around your birth wasn't natural, it was spiritual. Hell has always been aware of who you are becoming. But take heart, for what was designed to break you has instead revealed your strength. You've wondered why doors closed that seemed perfect. It wasn't rejection, it was divine redirection. Heaven was protecting you from counterfeit opportunities that would have distracted you from your true assignment. Every no was a mercy. Every detour was destiny taking the scenic route. The mark of the chosen one guarantees that nothing, no betrayal, no delay, no disappointment can remove you from the path prepared for you. Your story was sealed before time began, and even your mistakes have been folded into the plan. You were never meant to walk the same path as everyone else. That's why comparison only breeds confusion. The pace of your journey is not measured by the world's clock, but by heaven's calendar. You must stop apologizing for being different. The very thing that sets you apart is the proof of your anointing. God does not anoint those who seek comfort. He anoints those who can carry fire without burning out. And you, beloved, have carried that fire longer than you realize. Look closely at your life. The moments of breaking were actually moments of birthing. The rejection you felt from people was direction from heaven. The loneliness you endured was God teaching you intimacy with Him. You are not behind, you are being positioned. The soil of your struggle has been preparing to bloom the fruit of your obedience. And soon, those who doubted your worth will witness what heaven was building all along. You have been marked not just to survive, but to multiply light in places of darkness. The world needs what you carry. That's why the pressure has been intense, the greater the oil. The deeper the crushing. You are oil in human form, an answer wrapped in skin. Your very existence is a message that God still chooses the unlikely. You are proof that grace can find a person, break them open, and pour out glory through their cracks. So, chosen one, stop questioning the mark upon you. Accept it, own it, wear it without apology. You were not made to hide. You were made to shine. Heaven is not waiting for you to become perfect. Heaven is waiting for you to become willing. You do not need to earn your mark. You need to embrace it. For when you finally do, you will understand that the weight you carry is not a curse, it is a crown, forged by purpose and secured by love. There was a time, chosen one, when you thought heaven had forgotten you. You watched others rise while you remained hidden, and the silence around you felt endless. But heaven hides its treasures, not its rejects. You were not ignored, you were protected in the secret place. The hidden season was never a prison, it was a cocoon. It was there that God began to strip away what could not go with you. He silenced the noise so that you could finally hear His whisper. Every calling begins in obscurity. The anointing matures in the shadows before it is revealed under the light. That's why your isolation was sacred. It was divine surgery. God removed people who couldn't walk with your purpose, stripped away false motives, and emptied your hands so He could fill them with something greater. Every unanswered prayer was not a denial, but a redirection. Heaven was teaching you to depend on presence over applause, on faith over familiarity. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay." That verse was written for you. Your vision, your calling, your long-awaited promise, it has an appointed time. Heaven never forgets its schedule. What you perceive as delay is actually design. God was never late. He was waiting for you to grow into the version of yourself that could sustain the weight of the blessing. In the hidden season, your roots grew deep. You learned how to pray when no one was clapping. You discovered who you were when no one affirmed you. Heaven allowed you to be unseen, so that when your season of revealing comes, you won't crumble under the attention. The obscurity built endurance. The silence trained your ears to discern his still, small voice. The rejection refined your motives until your heart beat in rhythm with his will. You cried and thought the silence meant abandonment. But heaven was closer in that stillness than in any loud miracle. God hides, not because he is far away, but because he is working deeply. He hides his most precious work beneath layers of time and pressure, knowing that greatness needs gestation. The waiting season was your womb of transformation. Think of Joseph in the prison before the palace. Think of David tending sheep before the throne. Think of Esther, an orphan, before she became queen. Every chosen vessel was first shaped in hiding. The hidden years do not erase destiny, they confirm it. Because only those strong enough to handle the silence can carry the sound of purpose when it finally breaks forth. There were days you wondered why prayers seemed unanswered, why doors didn't open. But what you couldn't see is that heaven was protecting you from the wrong doors, the premature opportunities, the connections that would have corrupted your mission. Every not yet was God saying, I'm still preparing your stage. You weren't delayed, you were being developed. And now, the season begins to shift. You can feel it in your spirit, the stirring, the sense that something is awakening. Heaven is whispering. It's almost time. What was hidden will soon be revealed. But remember this, the purpose of your hiddenness was never to punish you, it was to prove you. The same grace that covered you in silence will now carry you into visibility. When you step out, you won't need to announce yourself. The anointing will speak. The fruit of your endurance will testify louder than any introduction. You will walk into rooms where you were once invisible, and the same people who overlooked you will see undeniable favor resting upon you. That's how heaven vindicates the hidden. But take care when the light finds you. Never forget the lessons of the dark. Stay humble. Stay rooted. Stay grateful for the hidden days, because they are what keep your crown from slipping when the glory comes. The light exposes both brilliance and motive. Let your heart remain pure, the same as it was when no one was watching. Chosen one, this is your moment of awakening. You are emerging not by your own effort, but by divine timing. Every delay has reached its expiration. The hidden season taught you obedience, and obedience now unlocks your revelation. Heaven is whispering. Step forward. The time you prayed for is here, and now, as a prophetic act of agreement, type these words below, I hear you. Write it as a declaration, not just a comment. By typing it, you are saying to heaven, I recognize your timing. I won't resist the shift. I'm ready to move. Every letter you write becomes a seed of surrender, a signal to the spiritual realm that you are finished waiting passively and have chosen to rise actively. You are aligning your will with heaven's rhythm. You are confirming that your hidden season has accomplished its purpose. You have waited, cried, endured, and now you rise. Heaven smiles upon your obedience. The silence is ending. The doors are opening. What was concealed is about to be revealed, and your name is written upon it. Every scar you carry, chosen one, tells a story of divine strategy. You've walked through valleys so dark that you questioned whether the light would ever find you again. But heaven wastes nothing, not even your pain. Every attack, every betrayal, every night you felt forgotten, carried purpose beyond what you could see. The fire you endured was never meant to consume you. It was designed to refine you. What the enemy meant for evil became the very process that unlocked your authority. You were not just tested, you were trained. The pain that nearly destroyed you was your classroom in endurance. The heartbreak that broke you open was where compassion began to grow. And the rejection that stung so deeply was heaven's redirection, steering you away from counterfeit connections. Every attack had an assignment to teach you what can no longer break you. You are no longer fragile, you are fortified. You might not realize it yet, but the very weapons formed against you forged the armor that now protects you. What once would have crushed you now barely shakes you. That is spiritual maturity. Heaven does not raise soldiers in comfort, it raises warriors in combat. The sleepless nights you endured were nights of spiritual training. The pain sharpened your discernment. The disappointment refined your motives. And the losses stripped away every false attachment so that only purpose would remain. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That was true then, and it remains true for you now. Every time you wanted to retaliate, every time you wanted to prove yourself, heaven whispered, "Be still," because God was fighting battles you couldn't even see. There were conversations in rooms where your name was mentioned, and God silenced mouths that sought to harm you. There were traps set for your downfall that never reached you because angels intercepted them. Every unseen victory testifies that you are more protected than you know. You've wondered why the opposition seemed relentless, why every time you took one step forward, something tried to drag you 2 steps back. It's because your obedience threatened hell. The enemy never attacks what doesn't carry value. His attacks were proof of your worth. Hell saw your potential long before the world did, and it panicked. You are not under attack because you are weak. You are under attack because you are effective. Darkness recognized your light before you did. So, every betrayal was a push, not a punishment. Every heartbreak was a release, not rejection. The tears you cried watered the soil of your next season. Heaven used the pain to prune away everything that couldn't carry you into your promise. It was never about who hurt you. It was about what God wanted to heal in you. The same pain that brought you to your knees has now made you unshakable. Remember this. Chosen one growth rarely feels like glory while it's happening. It feels like breaking, stretching, bleeding, but it's birthing transformation. You prayed for strength, and heaven answered by allowing trials that demanded it. You asked for wisdom, and heaven responded by giving you choices that tested your discernment. You desired a greater anointing, and heaven placed you in situations that crushed what was unnecessary. You didn't fail the test, you became the lesson. When you look back, you'll realize that every why is turning into a thank you. The pain that once silenced you is becoming your testimony. The wounds that once defined you are becoming your weapons. You will speak from scars, not from open wounds, and when you do, your words will carry authority because they were purchased through survival. You are not the same person who entered the storm. You have emerged wiser, softer in heart, and stronger in spirit. Heaven allowed the attacks not to expose your weakness, but to reveal your resilience. You've walked through fire and did not burn. You've stood in storms and did not sink. You've lost people you thought you couldn't live without, and yet you are still standing. That is evidence of divine preservation. You are not simply surviving, You are being transformed into the kind of person who can carry the weight of answered prayers. So do not resent the warfare. It was your awakening. Every hardship was a teacher, every loss a lesson, every tear a seed. And now, heaven looks upon you and sees someone unshaken by fear, unmoved by opinion, unstoppable by circumstance. The pain shaped you into a vessel capable of carrying glory. The attacks were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to introduce you to yourself. There are moments, chosen one, when heaven seems silent, not because God has forgotten, but because he is observing. There is a holy stillness between promise and fulfillment, a sacred pause where faith is tested and motives are revealed. You've stood in that silence before. Haven't you, wondering if your prayers ever left the room? Wondering if heaven still heard the sound of your voice? Yet even in silence, heaven was speaking, just in a language of trust, not noise. When God watches in silence, he is measuring not your perfection, but your persistence. Anyone can worship when the blessings overflow. Only the truly chosen can worship when nothing moves. The silence of God is the training ground for spiritual maturity. It is there that faith learns to breathe without visible proof, and obedience becomes its own reward. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 30, verse 5, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." Those words were born from the heart of a man who knew the sting of waiting, the ache of uncertainty, and yet he understood the rhythm of heaven, that silence is not absence, and waiting is not waste. God's pauses are purposeful. They are the soil where unseen roots of faith grow. The same silence that feels like distance is actually the space where miracles are conceived. Think of the seed buried in the dark earth. It hears nothing, sees nothing. Yet beneath the soil, transformation begins. That is how heaven has been working in your life. Beneath the weight of unanswered questions, change has been quietly blooming. The darkness that frightened you was actually your womb of growth. Heaven hides miracles in the soil of patience. Beloved, do not mistake stillness for stagnation. When heaven watches, it is not detached, it is deliberate. A teacher is most silent during the test, and in those silent seasons, heaven examines what remains when the applause stops. Can you still believe when you hear nothing? Can you still obey when you see nothing? That kind of faith moves mountains, not because of its volume, but because of its endurance. And while you waited, heaven was not idle. Angels were dispatched. Alignments were arranged. The story that seemed delayed was actually being written with precision. You could not see it, but heaven was orchestrating details far beyond your reach. Every unanswered prayer was being woven into something far more beautiful than you asked for. The silence was never empty, it was full of movement unseen. Now, as you stand at the edge of breakthrough, look back and see how the silence shaped you. It taught you to listen beyond noise, to sense God's nearness in ways you never knew possible. It taught you to find joy in surrender and strength in stillness. And perhaps most of all, it taught you gratitude, for now you understand that silence is not the end of the song, but the rest before the crescendo. Your story is a symphony, and God is both composer and conductor. There are rests in the music not to diminish the melody, but to prepare the listener for greater sound. Every quiet measure of your life is setting the stage for a divine crescendo. The instruments are tuning. The spotlight is warming. and heaven is ready to release what's next. Before you move forward, pause. Feel the sacred gratitude rising in your chest. If this message speaks to you, if it mirrors your own hidden ache and hope, let your heart respond in kindness. When you share this message, you extend light to another soul still lost in their silent night. When you like it, you send a signal through the noise that light still wins. When you subscribe, you stay connected to this stream of faith that heaven uses to reach its chosen ones again and again. And if your heart feels stirred to donate, do it not as a transaction, but as an act of worship. Every seed sown into light multiplies. Your support becomes a ripple of hope, a candle passed from one weary heart to another. It tells heaven, I want to be part of what you're doing. Think of it as rain returning to the sky through mist, the cycle of giving that keeps heaven's flow alive on earth. When you give, you are not losing, you are circulating grace. You are helping someone, somewhere, hear what you once needed most. So let your act of faith, whether a like, a share, a subscription, or a seed, be your quiet amen. A whisper that says, even in the silence, I trust you, for the morning is near, and joy is already on its way. You can feel it, can't you? Chosen one, something is shifting in the unseen. The air around you feels heavier, not with despair, but with divine expectancy. You are standing at the threshold of release. It's that sacred place between prophecy and manifestation, where heaven waits for your obedience to unlock what has already been promised. You've prayed, you've fasted, you've wept, and now heaven says, it's time. But before the breakthrough bursts forth, there is always a final test, the test of obedience. Heaven never releases what your heart cannot handle. God doesn't just give blessings, He entrusts them, and trust must be proven. This moment, right now, is your threshold test. What you do next determines what heaven does next. There's a stirring in the spirit realm. You can feel the tension like the moment before dawn, when the sky begins to shift, but the sun has not yet risen. You are not waiting for blessing, the blessing is waiting for you. It's standing on the other side of obedience, calling your name, whispering, cross over. The ancient words recorded in Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, declare, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. The glory in you, not around you, not above you, but inside you, is ready to be revealed. The pain you endured was not wasted. It was the pressure required to prepare your spirit for release. Every delay was like the tightening of an arrow before it's launched. You felt pulled back, restricted, confined, but heaven was aiming you. And now, that tension is about to propel you into divine momentum. Still, the question remains, will you obey when it costs you? Will you take the step before you see the bridge? The threshold demands trust. Many stand at the door of destiny and turn back because it looks too uncertain, too costly. But you, chosen one, are different. You've come too far to retreat. The wilderness has shaped your hearing, and now heaven's whisper is louder than fear. You've been sensing this call, leave behind what feels safe. Move toward what feels divine. There are instructions you've been ignoring because they didn't make sense. Yet that very act of obedience could be the key that unlocks the next season. God doesn't need your logic, He needs your yes. The miracle is never in the comfort, it's always in the obedience. Consider Noah, who built an ark under clear skies, Abraham, who walked without a map, Peter, who stepped out onto water that shouldn't have held him. Every breakthrough was birthed through radical obedience. Heaven moves when faith acts. You are standing at your own Red Sea moment, one step, and the waters will part. Do not let hesitation rob you of what heaven has prepared. Delay is still disobedience in slow motion. The door before you is not guaranteed to stay open forever. Heaven has aligned this season perfectly for your step of faith. But time and trust work hand in hand. When heaven moves, you must move too. You may feel nervous, unsure, even unqualified, but that's how you know it's divine. God always calls the unready, because obedience creates readiness. You're not supposed to feel capable, you're supposed to feel called. The assignment ahead of you is bigger than your strength, but perfectly sized for your surrender. Heaven whispers again, cross over. That voice will not silence until you obey. You've been praying for new doors, but God says, walk through the one I already opened. Don't wait for the fear to disappear, move despite it. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's obedience in the face of it. You are on holy ground now. Every lesson from your hidden season, every scar from your battles, every tear you thought went unnoticed, they have all prepared you for this crossing. Your spirit is stronger, your discernment sharper, your vision clearer. Heaven trusts you now, because you've proven that you can be faithful in the waiting. And when you step forward, everything will shift. The chains that bound you in the last season will lose their power. The voices that mocked you will be silenced by the sound of fulfillment. The doors that refuse to open will recognize your obedience as the master key. So here is your prophetic act in faith, in humility, in surrender. Type this number in the comments, 555. This is not superstition, this is symbolism. The number 555 represents divine grace multiplied, change ordained by heaven, and the moment of transition. When you type it, you are saying to God, I'm crossing my threshold. I'm ready for my release. You're declaring that you will no longer camp outside your promise. You're acknowledging that obedience is your gateway to glory. Every time someone writes that number in faith, it becomes an echo in the spirit realm, a sound that heaven recognizes as movement. And when heaven detects movement, it responds with manifestation. Chosen one, you have waited long enough. The wilderness has served its purpose. The door is open. Step through. Obedience is not loss, it's leverage. It is the key that turns delay into destiny. The threshold is before you. Heaven is waiting, and your time finally has come. The closer you move toward your calling, chosen one, the more distractions will appear dressed as destiny. This is the law of spiritual momentum. When heaven begins to move, hell begins to mimic. The enemy rarely comes with horns and fire. He comes disguised as comfort, as opportunity, as attention that pulls your heart away from purpose. The battle is no longer about attack, but about focus. Distraction is the final weapon of delay. You have likely felt it already, the sudden invitations, the unexpected temptations, the resurfacing of people and patterns you thought were gone. These are not coincidences. They are counterfeits sent to make you pause just before breakthrough. The closer the blessing, the stronger the illusion. The enemy knows he cannot destroy you. so he will try to detour you. As the Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 16. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is, and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. The crossroads, that's where you are standing right now. Heaven has illuminated the true path before you, but alongside it lies the counterfeit one. The good way is narrow, costly, and often lonely. The counterfeit road is wide, easy, and full of distractions that glitter but never satisfy. One path leads to purpose, the other to delay. You must discern the difference. Discernment is heaven's gift to those who are ready to lead. Without it, good intentions become open doors for deception. You are not fighting flesh and blood. You are battling illusions designed to drain your energy, your time, and your focus. The counterfeit always appears first, because the enemy rushes while heaven refines. The quick option is rarely the right one. Think of Eve in the garden, tempted by something that looked good but carried death. Think of Samson, who carried power yet was seduced by distraction. Think of Jesus in the wilderness, offered kingdoms by the deceiver if only he would bow. Every chosen one faces the same test. Will you choose the short path that flatters the flesh, or the long path that fulfills the spirit? You've already come too far to be trapped by imitation. Heaven is revealing truth to your spirit. The counterfeit relationship that feeds your ego but starves your peace, that's not love. The opportunity that promises instant success but demands you to compromise, that's not destiny. The voice that sounds holy but breeds confusion, that's not guidance from God. Learn the sound of peace, because peace is heaven's fingerprint. What carries peace carries his presence. When you start rising, distraction often comes wearing the face of familiarity. Old habits return, old fears whisper, old connections knock on the door, pretending to care but secretly carrying the weight of your old self. Not everyone who once walked with you can walk with you now. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. The frequency of your spirit has changed, and some will not be able to tune in. Let them go in love, but let them go. The enemy knows that he cannot curse what God has blessed, so he tries to crowd it. He surrounds you with noise, too many voices, too many choices, until your vision blurs. But the truly chosen must learn the art of sacred focus. You are not called to everything. You are called to one thing, and that one thing requires your full devotion. Heaven's strategy for your life demands clarity, not chaos. You will know you're on the right path when it requires surrender. The counterfeit path feeds pride. The divine one demands humility. The counterfeit brings instant gratification. The divine path brings lasting fruit. Choose the narrow way, even when it costs you applause. Heaven rewards the obedient, not the popular. And here's a truth most never learn. Sometimes the distraction isn't external, it's emotional. Your own thoughts, fears, and memories can become noise that drowns out heaven's direction. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you if he can keep you anxious, busy, or numb. So silence becomes your shield. Protect your focus like treasure, because it is. Every moment of clarity is a portal for divine instruction. When confusion rises, return to stillness. Ask the question Jeremiah asked. Where is the good way? Heaven will always answer. Not with a shout, but with peace. If it costs your peace, It's too expensive for your destiny. You are standing between counterfeit comfort and divine calling. One road promises rest but delivers regret. The other requires faith but leads to fulfillment. You already know which one your spirit recognizes. It's the one that terrifies your flesh but excites your soul. That's how heaven confirms direction. It feels like risk, but smells like purpose. Stay alert. Chosen one. The season of distraction is the final test before divine release. If you guard your focus now, the next move of heaven will unfold with precision. The enemy has tried to confuse your steps, but he cannot cancel what has been written. You will see through deception. You will walk in discernment. And soon, the counterfeit will fade as truth shines brighter than ever. You are too close to turn around. Keep walking the good way. Heaven is clearing the noise ahead. There is a reason your spirit has felt heavier lately. Chosen one. It is not weariness, it is weight. You are carrying something sacred, something that heaven planted inside of you long before you could name it. This is the weight of the mantle. It is both glory and gravity. A divine responsibility that presses against your chest like invisible fire. Others may see only your outward calm, but inside, you feel the pull of destiny every waking moment. You are not burdened, you are entrusted. Mantles are never given for comfort, they are given for calling. To carry one is to live between heaven and earth, constantly stretched between divine instruction and human limitation. It is why you cannot live like everyone else. It is why ordinary pleasures feel hollow and temporary. The call on your life demands more, and your spirit knows it. The apostle reminds us in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 7, "But we have this treasure in jars of clay, to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us." That verse captures your reality. You are the jar, fragile, imperfect, human, yet inside you rests a treasure beyond comprehension. The mantle you carry is heaven's treasure housed in earthly form. It explains the tension you feel between weakness and strength, exhaustion and endurance. You are human, yet you carry something eternal. You stumble, yet what rests within you stands unshaken. There are days when you wonder why your life feels so heavy while others seem free to drift. But the mantle makes you sensitive to what others ignore. You feel what heaven feels. You weep for things others laugh about. You carry burdens for people who don't even know your name. That is the cost of spiritual stewardship. Mantles turn ordinary hearts into vessels of intercession. You have been misunderstood because of this. Some call you distant, overly intense, too spiritual. But what they cannot comprehend is that your silence is not disinterest, it is discernment. You are listening to heaven's rhythm, aligning your spirit with assignments unseen. The weight you carry requires stillness, not constant motion. You are being trained in invisible disciplines, obedience, patience, restraint, because the mantle multiplies the power of whatever you release. If you speak recklessly, it carries consequence. If you act in obedience, it releases miracles. This is why your process has been harder than most. Heaven cannot place a heavy mantle on untested shoulders. You were crushed so that the oil could flow purely. Every season of breaking was not rejection, it was refining. The mantle has to fit the shape of your surrender. You cannot wear what you refuse to grow into. There will be days when the weight feels unbearable, and you will want to set it down. But remember, God never gives a mantle without the grace to carry it. You are not sustaining the calling is sustaining you. The same power that rests upon you is the power that lifts you when you falter. Heaven knows your limits better than you do. What feels like breaking is often the adjustment of divine weight, preparing you for the next level of glory. Look around you. Every challenge you face is connected to the magnitude of what you carry. Small purposes attract small battles. Great mantles attract storms. But storms are simply heaven's wind, reminding you that you are built to withstand pressure. Every gust of resistance is a sign that your mantle has authority in that realm. You are an atmosphere shifter. Your presence unsettles what is dark because it carries the fragrance of light. Still, remember, the mantle is not a trophy. It is a trust. It exists not to glorify you, but to reveal God through you. The danger for many chosen ones is to confuse gifting with identity. Your mantle does not make you superior, it makes you responsible. The more influence heaven gives you, the more humility it requires. To carry the mantle well, you must stay close to the one who placed it on you. You may not yet see its full expression, but you are already wearing it. The heaviness, the urgency, the tears you cannot explain, all are signs that heaven has entrusted you with something that matters beyond this lifetime. Generations will feel the impact of your obedience. The weight you feel is proof of the legacy you're birthing. Hold it well. Chosen one, carry it with reverence. Walk softly. Speak truthfully. Love deeply. Your mantle is not a burden. It is a banner evidence that heaven trusted you enough to share its responsibility. The fire you feel will not consume you. It will commission you. And soon, what feels heavy now will become the wind beneath your destiny. There are nights, chosen one, when you look at the clock and wonder why the promise still tarries. You've prayed until words dissolved into tears, waited until faith felt like fatigue, believed when belief itself felt impossible. You have wrestled with time, asking heaven why it seems to move so slowly for you while others soar ahead. Yet God is not delaying, He is perfecting. You are not being punished by time, you are being purified by it. Delay is not denial, it is divine choreography. Heaven's timing is not measured in minutes, but in maturity. What looks like slowness is heaven's way of synchronizing every piece of your story, so that when the door opens, nothing is missing. You are being aligned, not overlooked, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 11, He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has set eternity in the human heart. That is the heartbeat of your current season. Everything is unfolding according to design, even when it feels delayed. Beauty takes time because heaven refuses to rush perfection. The problem is that your soul lives in minutes, while your destiny lives in eternity. You see fragments, God sees fullness. You see waiting, heaven sees weaving. You are learning the art of divine patience, the kind that trusts without proof, that worships without reward, that stays faithful in the unseen. The waiting room is not a punishment, it's a workshop. God is building the kind of strength that can survive fulfillment. Because the moment the promise manifests, the pressure multiplies, and only those who have been trained in stillness can handle the weight of sudden glory. Your prayers were heard the first time. The delay is not in heaven's hearing, but in heaven's strategy. Sometimes God holds the blessing until your environment can sustain it. Other times, He waits until your heart can steward it. The time between asking and receiving is sacred. Heaven is adjusting everything around you so that what you prayed for won't destroy you when it arrives. You've seen others receive their breakthroughs and wondered, "What about me?" But their season is not your measurement. Comparison only clouds clarity. You are on heaven's timeline, not man's. Some harvests require longer rain. The deeper the root, the higher the rise. Your waiting is evidence of something extraordinary being prepared. Heaven takes its time with masterpieces. Even now, while you feel paused, God is aligning relationships, positioning resources, and preparing platforms. You think nothing is happening, yet behind the curtain of time, heaven is moving with precision. Like an artist painting in layers, God is adding dimension to your destiny. What you see as delay is actually the addition of depth. Patience is painful because it requires surrender. It teaches you to stop fighting the clock and start trusting the Creator. The more you try to control, the longer it feels. But when you yield, time itself becomes your ally. For those who trust Him, waiting becomes worship. It becomes a declaration that says, even if it takes longer, I still believe. This is where many turn back. They mistake silence for absence. But you have learned too much to quit now. Heaven's slow pace is protection. Every closed door that frustrated you was a wall guarding your destiny. Every unanswered prayer was a yes in disguise, waiting for the right hour to manifest. Chosen one, your waiting is almost over. You can feel the atmosphere shifting, the winds of fulfillment gathering. Heaven is whispering that the timeline is approaching convergence. But before the manifestation comes, you must make one final declaration of faith, one that aligns your heart with heaven's timing. Type these words below, I still trust. Write it not as a ritual, but as revelation. When you type those words, you are doing what Abraham did when he looked at the stars, believing without visible proof. You are saying, I will not rush what heaven is perfecting. I trust the process even when I cannot trace it. Your words become anchors in the unseen. Every declaration of trust becomes a seed that blooms in due time. You are not waiting in vain, you are waiting in purpose. The harvest is already scheduled, and heaven never misses its appointed hour. So breathe again, chosen one. Lift your head. Even in the in-between, the same God who began this story will finish it in beauty. The delay is ending. The unveiling is near. And soon, what once made you question will make you worship. Chosen one, the season of hiding is ending. You can feel heaven's call pressing upon you. It is time to rise. The stillness that once felt like safety is now too small for your spirit. You were not created to stay buried in potential. You were designed to bloom into purpose. The world is groaning for the sound of your obedience, for the light that only you carry. Heaven is calling your name. And this time, it is not a whisper, it is a command. When heaven says, rise, it doesn't simply mean stand up, it means stand forth. It means take your place among those who have chosen faith over fear, purpose over comfort, calling over convenience. Rising is not about elevation, it is about revelation. It is about stepping into the identity that's been waiting for you since the beginning. The prophet Isaiah once declared in his writings, chapter 60, verse 1, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. This verse isn't poetry, it's prophecy. The light that is rising upon you is not borrowed, it's your own. It has been growing quietly within, like a flame hidden under ashes, waiting for the breath of obedience to ignite it fully. And now heaven exhales, saying, "Shine." You have spent enough time watching from the shadows, doubting your worth, waiting for permission to begin. But you are the permission. God is not waiting for you to feel ready. He is waiting for you to say yes. The rise begins the moment you decide to believe what heaven has already spoken about you. You may feel small, uncertain, even unqualified, but every great calling begins in trembling hands. The seed never feels ready to become a tree, yet it surrenders to the soil anyway. That is how growth begins, not with confidence, but with surrender. The soil may feel like pressure, but it is also protection. What feels like burial is actually planting. Heaven doesn't bury what it wants to kill, it buries what it wants to multiply. You have been planted, not buried. And now, the roots beneath you are strong enough to support your rise. The season of quiet preparation was never wasted. It built your foundation. Every unseen day of prayer, every silent night of endurance, has become the rich soil of your strength. And when you finally rise, you will not rise empty, you will rise carrying fruit. But this next rise is not for applause. It is for impact. The stage of your destiny is not made of wood and lights. It is built of moments where heaven and earth meet through your kindness, your words, your courage. The light you release will find the cracks in someone else's darkness and bring healing. That is your ministry, not perfection, but presence. So rise, but rise with purpose. Rise not to be seen, but to serve. Rise with humility in your step and fire in your heart. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more truth. And that truth flows from your obedience. Beloved, if this message stirs something inside you, if it feels like the wind beneath the wings, you almost forgot you had let it move you to action. When you like this message, it's more than a click. It's your way of saying to heaven, I agree. When you share it, you become a vessel of light, carrying the same hope that found you into the feeds and hearts of others still searching. When you subscribe, you're not just following a voice, you're joining a movement of awakening, a gathering of the chosen who refuse to sleep through destiny. You are declaring, I choose to stay connected to the flow of faith. And if your heart feels led to donate, do so as an act of seed and surrender. Giving is not about loss, it is about legacy. It is the echo of faith made visible. Your seed becomes a bridge, connecting heaven's message to hearts around the world. Just as rain nourishes unseen roots, your giving sustains unseen reach. Every act of generosity is a ripple of light that travels further than you will ever know. Think of it like this: when you pour into light, you are investing in eternity. You are watering the very soil from which future miracles will grow. What you give returns multiplied, not because of transaction, but because heaven honors stewardship. Chosen one, your rise is sacred. It is not loud, but it is powerful. It does not demand attention, it commands atmosphere. When you walk in obedience, heaven itself shifts around you. You carry divine gravity now. Things align when you move. So, rise gently but boldly. Rise with gratitude. Rise for those who still doubt they can. Heaven is watching. Earth is waiting, and your light finally is ready to shine. Sometimes, chosen one, the greatest battle comes not from outside voices, but from the echo of your own past. You've stepped into new light, yet old shadows still try to follow. Memories rise like ghosts, mistakes, regrets. The voices of people who once defined you. The past has a way of calling when your future is near, whispering lies that sound like familiarity. But the past only has power if you answer. You have changed, though the world may not have noticed. You are no longer the version of yourself that once stumbled through confusion. Yet, the enemy loves to resurrect yesterday's failures and dress them in today's doubts. He wants to convince you that redemption has limits, that you are still who you were before grace found you. But heaven disagrees. The cross rewrote your name. The blood sealed your record. You are not who you were. You are who God says you are. Heaven's reminder comes through the writings of the Apostle Paul in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has gone. The new has come. That declaration is your emancipation. You are a new creation. The old stories, the old cycles, the old shame, they have expired. Yet, like an echo in an empty hall, the past sometimes repeats itself, trying to lure you back. It uses familiar faces, familiar temptations, familiar patterns, not to love you, but to limit you. But you are not called to live in repetition, you are called to live in resurrection. The past's greatest weapon is nostalgia. It makes you long for what once hurt you. It disguises chains as comfort. It reminds you of moments that felt safe but were spiritually suffocating. You must remember, familiarity is not peace, and comfort is not calling. God is not leading you backward. When he delivered Lot's family from Sodom, he gave one instruction: do not look back. But Lot's wife turned, drawn by the magnet of memory, and in one glance she lost her future. Heaven warns us gently through her story. You cannot step into promise while staring at the past. There will be times when your heart aches for the ones who left, the friendships that ended, the relationships that dissolved, the dreams that collapsed. They were not wasted. They were necessary exits. Not everyone who began your journey was meant to finish it. God removed some connections to make room for destiny. And though the loss hurt, the release healed. Sometimes heaven subtracts before it multiplies. Forgive yourself for the things you didn't know then. The person you were at that time was doing the best they could with the light they had. Growth is not shameful. It is holy. Do not condemn your younger self for stumbling in places where you had not yet learned to walk. Grace has already covered those years. You do not owe your past an apology. You owe your future your focus. Healing, chosen one, is not about forgetting. It's about transforming what once wounded you into wisdom. Every pain you survived becomes a lantern for someone else's path. Your testimony will one day be someone else's survival guide. What once made you hide will now become your ministry. You may still feel the echoes, the temptation to revisit an old chapter, to reread a closed story. But remember, repetition is the enemy of resurrection. The moment you turn back, the light ahead begins to dim. Keep your eyes forward. God has already erased the record of your wrongs, yet you keep holding the pen to rewrite them. Lay it down. Heaven is not rehearsing your failures, it is rehearsing your restoration. The past can't follow where you're going. The gates of destiny only open for those who travel light. Release the guilt, the bitterness, the what-ifs. Let them dissolve in the river of grace. You've cried enough tears over what cannot return. Now it's time to dance into what is waiting. The lessons you learned in those hard years are your armor now. You are wiser, stronger, and infinitely more compassionate because of them. When the past calls, let it ring. You don't live there anymore. Your home is forward, built on promise, lit by mercy, guarded by peace. Every step you take away from what broke you is a step closer to what will bless you. Chosen one, do not fear the ghosts behind you. They have no authority in the realm of your rebirth. Walk on. Heaven is calling your name from ahead, not behind. You have walked through fire, chosen one, and still you stand. There were nights when the flames rose higher than your hope, when the heat of trials threatened to consume you. Yet here you are not burned, but refined. The world sees only the surface of your story, but heaven knows every spark that forged your endurance. Your name has been written in the fire, and that fire has not destroyed you, it has defined you. Sometimes you wondered if the testing would ever end. The losses piled up like ashes, and you felt your strength fading. But God never allowed the fire to take more than it needed. The fire that was sent to destroy you became the furnace of purification. Every season of pressure removed another layer of fear. Every disappointment melted away another ounce of pride. You were being stripped. Yes, but only so the purest parts of you could emerge. The ancient prophet speaks in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 2. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. Those words were written for moments like this, for hearts like yours. You have not simply survived the flames, you have been transformed by them. The smell of smoke does not linger on your soul. You carry evidence of endurance without the residue of bitterness. The fire has revealed what was always there, a spirit that refuses to bow, a faith that refuses to break. The trials you've endured were not random. Each one was a classroom of divine craftsmanship. Heaven was teaching you the language of resilience, the ability to praise in pain, to trust in silence, to stand when everything shakes. You learned that peace is not the absence of storms, but the presence of God within them. You learned that worship is not a song, it's a posture of surrender when everything hurts. Your fire season was never about punishment, it was about preparation. God was shaping your voice to carry authority. Only those who have walked through flames can speak with power that penetrates hearts. Your testimony now carries weight because it was birthed in suffering. Others will find healing in your scars because your pain has been turned into prophecy. Look back for a moment, not with regret, but with recognition. See how far you've come. The tears that once blurred your vision now water the ground where new life is emerging. The prayers you whispered in desperation became the bricks of your foundation. You were never abandoned in the fire. Heaven walked with you through every flame, even when you couldn't see it. Remember the three men in Babylon's furnace, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The king saw four figures walking in the fire, and the fourth looked like the Son of God. That same presence was with you. Every time you thought you were alone, he was there, shielding, strengthening, sustaining. And now, just like them, you're stepping out of your furnace without a single burn, but with a story that will ignite faith in others. You might not have noticed, but your fire has changed your atmosphere. People around you sense something different. Your words carry peace. Your presence carries power. You've become the kind of person whose calm terrifies chaos. That's what happens when someone walks through flames and refuses to quit. They become fireproof. Now heaven whispers that this is your moment of recognition. The testing is ending, and the revealing is beginning. What was refined in secret is about to shine in public. Your anointing carries the aroma of perseverance. The fire did not just purify you, it branded you with authenticity. Heaven trusts you now. You have proven that you can hold the glory without losing the humility. But before you move forward, pause. This moment deserves acknowledgement. The fire that once frightened you has become your forge. The very thing you thought would break you has built you. Heaven is watching you emerge, glowing with wisdom, carrying light in your eyes that only those who've suffered can understand. And now, chosen one, as a prophetic act of gratitude for every flame that shaped you, type this number in the comments, 888. Do it as a declaration, not decoration. This number represents new beginnings, resurrection, and eternal renewal. By typing it, you are saying to heaven, I am stepping out of the fire and into the promise. The old season has ended, the new one begins now. Every time your fingers touch those numbers, you are sealing your transformation, affirming that your faith has survived the furnace. It is more than a comment, it is a covenant. When heaven sees your declaration, it recognizes a spirit that has endured purification and still praises. You're saying, the fire refined me, not defined me. You're announcing that ashes are not your ending, they are your anointing. Lift your chin. Chosen one. The flames have done their work. The gold within you is now visible. You have emerged wiser, cleaner, stronger. What once hurt now heals others. What once burned now brightens. Heaven smiles because you did not quit in the fire. And now, as the smoke clears, you stand radiant proof that nothing pure is ever destroyed by flame. Everything you lost, chosen one, is not gone, it is simply being reordered. Heaven never takes without intention, it only exchanges. What you thought was subtraction was, in truth, divine multiplication concealed in mystery. The emptiness you've been feeling is not absence, it's space being made for what's coming. The divine exchange is underway, a sacred trade between what you gave up and what you're about to receive. There were seasons when your hands were full but your heart was starving. You carried people, dreams, and expectations that drained more than they gave. You mistook heaviness for responsibility, exhaustion for loyalty. And so, heaven began to strip away the excess. It hurt because you didn't yet know it was protection. You saw loss, heaven saw release. You wept over things that were never meant to stay. But when God empties your hands, it's not to punish you, it's to fill them with something purer. We are reminded through the words in the book of Job, chapter 42. Verse 10, after Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. That verse is not just history, it's prophecy. It tells the pattern of divine justice that every loss endured in righteousness becomes the soil for double restoration. Job's story mirrors your own, stripped, misunderstood, tested, and then restored in abundance. But notice the order his restoration began after he forgave. His prayer for others unlocked the door for his own return. Forgiveness is the currency of divine exchange. It is how heaven converts pain into purpose. You cannot hold new blessings with clenched fists of bitterness. The more you release, the more room heaven has to multiply. Your healing begins where resentment ends. Think of the seed once more. It cannot grow unless it lets go of its shell. The breaking is part of the blooming. Every person who left, every opportunity that fell apart, every prayer that seemed unanswered, all of them cracked your outer shell so that the true life inside could emerge. That is divine exchange, death turning to resurrection, endings transforming into entrances. You've been through a cycle of surrender. At first, it felt like theft, like life was taking from you faster than you could recover. But slowly, the Spirit began to whisper that not everything lost was valuable. Some things were weights disguised as blessings. Some connections were assignments that had expired. Heaven was not rejecting you. It was reassigning you. The release was necessary for your realignment. And now, the spiritual economy shifts. What you lost will return, but not in the same form. The people may be different, the opportunities unfamiliar, yet the essence will be richer. Heaven rarely gives back what was taken. It gives something far greater that redeems the pain of losing. That's how God balances scales, by giving beauty where ashes once lay. You will see it soon. Peace where chaos lived. Clarity where confusion dwelt. Abundance where lack had its throne. This is the divine principle of restoration. It doesn't erase the memory of loss, it redeems it. The scars remain, but they shine with purpose instead of pain. Still, this exchange requires trust. It demands that you stop clinging to what once was. The temptation of memory is to romanticize the past, to long for what's already left. But God cannot refill what you refuse to release. The closed hand may feel safe, but it cannot receive. Heaven can only fill what is open. You must let go, not as surrender to loss, but as agreement with grace. Let go of the need for closure that never came, the apology you'll never hear, the explanation that won't fix what happened. Those are small currencies compared to what heaven is about to deposit. Release them in faith and watch how quickly God replaces sorrow with peace. What you gave in tears, you will reap in joy. The patience you practiced will become your portion of wisdom. The generosity you maintained in pain will return as favor in abundance. You are entering the season of divine return, the realm where obedience meets overflow. Every silent prayer, every secret act of kindness, every sacrifice you made unseen, none of it went unnoticed. Heaven kept the receipts. Soon you will stand in awe of how God rewrites stories. You'll look at what you once lost and realize it was the very key that opened new doors. The divine exchange always brings something better, because heaven's mathematics multiply through mercy. The losses that once felt unbearable will become the landmarks of your faith. And when restoration comes, it will come quietly but undeniably. There will be no need for announcement. Peace will be the proof. You will feel it deep in your spirit, the shift from striving to receiving, from mourning to dancing. You will know that the divine exchange has been completed when gratitude outweighs grief. Chosen one, heaven never forgets what you've surrendered. Every seed planted in pain will return as a harvest of peace. What you gave up in obedience will come back multiplied in glory. Trust the divine exchange. it's already in motion. Chosen one. You may not see it yet, but heaven has been building a strategy around your life. Every detour, every closed door, every delay has been part of a greater orchestration, an alignment so intricate that only divine wisdom could design it. Nothing has been wasted, not even your confusion. You've been living inside heaven's blueprint, a plan woven through both your triumphs and your tears. Heaven's strategy is never rushed. It unfolds like a tapestry, thread by thread, color by color, each strand meaningful, though sometimes unseen from your side of the loom. You see knots, heaven sees patterns. You see tension, heaven sees strength. The same threads that felt like chaos are actually forming the design of destiny. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 9, in their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. That verse is your reminder that your steps, even the hesitant ones, are being guided. When you thought you had wandered off course, you were still walking on divine coordinates. You were never lost, just being led through the long road that builds faith. Heaven doesn't use shortcuts, it uses sanctification. There were moments you tried to plan everything, only to watch your efforts crumble. It felt unfair, but heaven was protecting you from premature success. The wrong timing can turn blessings into burdens. God withheld certain things not because you weren't worthy, but because He was still weaving the right conditions around you. The promise hasn't been cancelled, it's being positioned. The strategy of heaven often works through paradox. It promotes through pruning, multiplies through subtraction, strengthens through surrender. That's why your path seemed backward while others surged ahead. You were not behind, you were beneath the surface, like roots expanding before the harvest. Heaven doesn't rush what it wants to last. Look at Joseph's journey. Betrayed, sold, imprisoned, yet every setback was a stepping stone. The pit prepared his humility. The prison prepared his wisdom, and both positioned him for the palace. You've walked a similar pattern. Every painful season was a prophecy in disguise. The circumstances that felt like confinement were actually refinement. Heaven's strategy builds character before it builds platforms. This divine blueprint also involves people, some who enter, some who exit. Each carries a purpose in the process. Some were there to sharpen you, others to stretch you, a few to show you how not to live. Don't resent them. They were necessary for calibration. Heaven often uses friction to create precision. Even betrayal was a lesson in discernment, a tool heaven used to refine your hearing. Your entire life has been a chessboard, and heaven is the master player. Every piece, every relationship, opportunity, disappointment has been moved with intention. What looked like losses were strategic sacrifices for greater positioning. You are closer to checkmate than you realize. Heaven never wastes a move. At times you've asked, why me? But the better question is, why not me? You carry a specific blueprint, a design that fits no one else. The assignments on your life are tailored for your spirit. That is why imitation never works for you. Heaven only funds authenticity. When you step outside of your divine design, things crumble not because you're cursed, but because you're covered. You are protected from becoming someone you're not. Heaven's strategy also includes silence. When God hides His voice, it's often because He's already given instruction. Silence is not absence, it's expectation. Heaven is waiting for your movement before it reveals the next step. You don't need to see the whole staircase to climb. You only need to trust the first step. You are being positioned for influence, though not the kind the world measures. Your influence won't come from noise or numbers, but from anointing and authenticity. Heaven's strategy places you where your obedience will echo the loudest. Sometimes that's a stage. Other times it's a quiet conversation that changes a single life. Either way, the impact is eternal. The systems of heaven don't chase visibility. They produce transformation. That's why your strategy looks strange to those who measure worth by recognition. You're not being hidden, you're being honed. Heaven has been fine-tuning your spirit like a swordsmith sharpening steel. Every moment of pressure has been polishing your edge. When the time comes to release you, you won't miss. You'll strike precisely where purpose requires. And here lies a truth that brings peace. You don't need to understand every detail of heaven's plan to trust it. Strategy is rarely seen from within the battlefield. Soldiers don't need to know the entire map. They need only to obey the command. So, walk forward. Even when vision blurs, heaven's coordinates never fail. Soon, you'll look back and realize that everything made sense in hindsight. The pain, the pauses, the unexpected turns. You'll see that nothing was random, nothing wasted. Heaven's strategy has been one continuous story of redemption, with you as both student and instrument. Chosen one. Stand still for a moment and breathe. The same hand that wrote your beginning is already shaping your next chapter. Heaven's strategy is not finished. It's unfolding flawlessly, just as it was always meant to. The time has come. Chosen one. To choose between comfort and crown. The two cannot coexist. Comfort will keep you safe, but crown will make you significant. The crown is not made of gold or gems, it is made of endurance, obedience, and surrender. It is invisible to the eyes of the world, but luminous in the eyes of heaven. You've been prepared for this moment, trained through hardship, tested by delay, refined through fire. Now heaven asks one question: will you wear what you've earned? You've seen what comfort does. It numbs purpose. It lulls destiny to sleep. It whispers, stay where it's safe. Even when your spirit cries, go where I'm called. The crown, however, demands courage. It is heavy at first, because glory always carries weight. But as you walk with it, strength begins to match responsibility. Heaven never gives you a crown you can't carry. It gives you one that will teach you how to grow. Scripture says in the first letter to Peter, chapter 5, verse 4, when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. That crown is your inheritance, not as reward for perfection, but for perseverance. It belongs to those who didn't quit when comfort called. The world celebrates ease. Heaven crowns endurance. And every test you've passed in silence has already added unseen jewels to that crown. But now, the moment of decision stands before you. The road of comfort is wide, lined with applause, but it leads to spiritual sleep. The road of the crown is narrow, quiet, and demanding, but it ends in eternal impact. You can feel the pull of both roads right now, the temptation to relax, and the conviction to rise higher. Heaven is not asking you to choose quickly, but to choose clearly. Comfort feels like peace, but it's imitation peace, a soft pillow for the soul that slowly suffocates purpose. The crown, though it feels heavier, awakens everything inside you. It sharpens your senses, steadies your heart, and fills you with clarity. When you live for the crown, you stop chasing validation. You no longer crave to be seen, you crave to be useful. So, how do you wear this invisible crown? You wear it every time you forgive when it's easier to resent. Every time you choose honesty when compromise offers shortcuts. Every time you love without guarantee. Every time you serve in silence while others seek the spotlight. These small, unseen choices are what polish the crown of glory upon your life. You may not realize it, but the world around you is watching. Someone's faith depends on your endurance. Someone's courage is ignited by your resilience. You are a living message that obedience is still powerful, that purity still matters, that kindness still wins. And as you live with the crown in mind, heaven aligns opportunities that amplify your example. Beloved, if this word finds a home in your spirit, if you feel the call to exchange comfort for calling, respond with action, not just feeling. When you like this message, you are saying, "Yes, I receive the weight of my crown." When you share it, you are extending the invitation for others to remember their own. When you subscribe, you are choosing to stay connected to a stream of messages that keep your flame burning when the world tries to dim it. And if you feel led to donate, do it not from guilt, but from gratitude. Every seed you sow becomes a torch passed forward, a way to keep this voice of faith echoing into lives you may never meet. Think of it as lighting a candle in the darkness. One small flame can guide 1,000 feet. Your gift becomes that flame, feeding the oil that keeps hope burning around the world. When you comment below, do it with purpose. Write your reflection, your takeaway, your amen of agreement. You never know who might read it in silence and find strength through your words. Sometimes your testimony becomes the sermon someone else needed. Don't underestimate the power of your voice. It carries divine resonance. Life itself is the stage where heaven crowns the humble. Each act of faith, each quiet yes, each private prayer adds another thread of light to the unseen tapestry of your crown. You are royalty in refinement, learning how to rule with love, how to serve with strength, how to walk in dignity even when unnoticed. So keep walking, crowned one. The weight you feel is not a burden, it's authority settling on your shoulders. Carry it with grace. Remember, comfort fades, but the crown endures. You were not created to live soft, you were created to live significant. Let the world chase ease, you will chase eternity. And when history remembers your name, it won't be for how comfortable you were, but for how faithfully you wore your crown. Everything has been leading here, chosen one to this precise moment where heaven's will and your willingness meet. You stand in the sacred tension between choice and consequence, between obedience and hesitation. This is the moment of decision, the quiet before the release, the breath before the breakthrough. It may not look dramatic from the outside, but in the spirit, all of heaven is leaning in, watching what you will choose next. This is not pressure, it is invitation. Heaven will never force your obedience, it will simply present the door and whisper, walk through. What stands before you is not just opportunity, it is destiny wrapped in obedience. The moment you say yes, the atmosphere around you begins to shift. But if you hold back, the timing remains suspended. The decision is not about what you want, it's about who you trust. The Apostle wrote in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 22, "Do not merely listen to the word, and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says." That truth pierces the soul because it reveals how destiny is not built by hearing truth, but by doing it. You've heard enough prophetic words, enough encouragements, enough promises, but now, obedience must activate what revelation has prepared. The blessing you seek is not waiting for more faith, it's waiting for movement. Every great destiny reaches this crossroad. Moses had to lift his staff before the sea could part. Esther had to risk her life before the king extended favor. Peter had to step out of the boat before he could walk on water. Each of them faced the same question you now face. Will I trust what I can't yet see? You've prayed for direction. And now heaven gives it, but direction always comes disguised as a decision. You may not hear a loud voice, but you feel that tug deep in your chest that is God's signal. The Spirit speaks in gentle persistence. It will not shout, but it will not leave. Every time you feel that stirring, that unease about staying still, know this: heaven is trying to move you. But there's a danger in delay. Every moment of hesitation invites confusion. The longer you debate obedience, the quieter the clarity becomes. The moment of decision requires swift surrender, not recklessness, but trust, not blind leaps, but faith that sees beyond sight. You may say, "What if I fail?" But failure only exists when obedience is replaced by fear. You cannot fail doing what God has commanded. You can only grow. Even if you misstep, heaven redirects. Obedience never ends in loss, it ends in learning. But disobedience ends in regret, the quiet ache of what could have been. Think of your journey so far, all the shaping, the refining, the lessons learned in pain. Do you really believe heaven brought you this far to leave you uncertain? Now, every prior test has been preparing you for this moment. This decision is not just another step, it's the culmination of every lesson behind you. Your readiness has been tested, your motives purified, your heart softened. You are prepared, even if you don't feel it. The enemy will try one last tactic: distraction. He'll whisper that waiting longer is wisdom, that the timing isn't right, that the risk is too great. But remember, fear always sounds logical right before breakthrough. What you call timing, heaven calls hesitation. You already know what to do. The question is whether you will obey. You are standing on holy ground, where obedience and destiny intersect. This is the thin place where eternity touches time, where your yes becomes heaven's signal to move. You are one decision away from doors you've prayed for, from peace you've longed for, from blessings that have been waiting for your readiness. But obedience is rarely glamorous. It may look like forgiving again, releasing control, applying where you fear rejection, speaking when you'd rather stay silent. The miracle often hides in mundane steps. Don't wait for the thunder, respond to the whisper. Heaven doesn't need spectacle to perform, only surrender. When you finally decide, everything shifts. The confusion fades. The weight you've carried dissolves into clarity. Doors you didn't even knock on begin to open. The moment you align with heaven's will, creation itself begins to cooperate with your purpose. That is the power of one act of obedience. And if you wonder how to begin, start small. Speak the yes in your heart before you move your feet. The moment you do, heaven registers it. Every angel assigned to your calling begins to reposition. Your single choice becomes a cosmic signal the chosen one has decided. This is not the end of your journey, it is the hinge of transformation. The decision you make now determines how the next chapter unfolds. Heaven is ready. The earth is waiting. The blessing has been written into time, but only obedience can release it. Breathe deeply. Steady your heart. And step forward. The threshold is before you. The light is waiting. And your moment has come. You've reached the edge. Chosen one, the place where promise becomes presence. The journey has carved lines of wisdom into your spirit. You have wrestled with darkness and discovered that light was never external. It was growing quietly inside you all along. You have walked through hiddenness, through the testing of faith, through fire, through waiting. And now you stand beneath the dawn of fulfillment. What once felt like endless delay now reveals itself as design. Everything, even the pain, has been part of heaven's rhythm, preparing you for this very moment. The rise of the chosen is not a sudden explosion of power, it is a quiet unveiling. It happens when heaven's timing and your transformation finally align. You no longer have to strive to be seen, because you are the sign. Your existence, your endurance, your faith in the unseen, these are heaven's proof that light still wins. The prophet writes in the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 3, "Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness, like the stars forever and ever." You are one of those stars formed in darkness, revealed in time. Heaven did not raise you to compete, it raised you to illuminate. Your rise is not about elevation, but illumination. The glory that rests on you is not for applause, but for awakening. When others look at your life, they will see what grace can do with a surrendered soul. Look back, chosen one. Remember how far you've come. There was a time when even hope felt foreign, when prayers felt like echoes swallowed by silence, and yet you remained. Every tear was a seed, every setback a step. You have become the living embodiment of resilience, the kind that can only be born through endurance. Heaven delights in this kind of strength. Not loud, but lasting. Not boastful, but unbreakable. You carry the fragrance of perseverance, the scent of someone who has wrestled with angels and walked away not with answers, but with anointing. You have been through things that should have hardened you, but instead they softened you. That's the mark of the truly chosen. Pain refines them instead of ruining them. They carry compassion in one hand and conviction in the other, both forged in the fires of experience. Now heaven unveils what it has been building in you all along. The light that once flickered in private now glows steady, radiant, unafraid. You are not who you were when this began. The self-doubt that once chained you has melted away in the presence of purpose. The fear that silenced your voice has been replaced with divine authority. You are a carrier of calm in chaos, a steady flame in shifting winds. The rise of the chosen is not loud, but it is unstoppable. It does not require announcement, because heaven itself becomes the herald. Doors begin to open not because you forced them, but because destiny recognizes you. People begin to notice the shift, not because you seek validation, but because your very presence has become revelation. You have become the message you once sought to hear. Your rise is not isolated, it ignites others. Light is contagious. As you step fully into your purpose, others will awaken beside you. Some who were lost in despair will remember their own call because of your example. The chosen never rise alone. Their obedience creates pathways for those still climbing. You have become a torchbearer in the lineage of the faithful, carrying flame from one generation to the next. And though the road ahead will still hold challenge, it will no longer intimidate you. The trials that once terrified you have turned into tools of discernment. You know now that storms are not sent to sink you, but to reveal your ability to stand. You've learned to listen differently, to trust that when heaven is silent, it's because your spirit already knows what to do. You are now the proof that faith works, that surrender is strength, that waiting is not wasting. The world needs this kind of proof. It needs living testimonies, not loud declarations, people whose peace preaches louder than any sermon. That is who you are now, living evidence of grace. Soon, you'll notice the acceleration. Favor will begin to move around you quietly but undeniably. Connections will align. Opportunities will unfold. And provision will meet you where it once seemed impossible. You will walk into places that once rejected you, not to seek validation, but to release value. You will speak, and hearts will soften because heaven will ride on your words. But even as you rise, remember humility. The greater the light, the deeper the roots must go. Stay grounded in gratitude. The same God who lifted you is the one who sustained you when no one else could. Do not let success steal your sensitivity. Let every victory become another altar of worship. And when you look around and see the fruit of all you've endured, whisper a quiet thank you to every past version of yourself who refused to give up. Without their endurance, you would not be standing here. Without their faith, you would not be shining now. This is your divine unveiling, the culmination of obedience, the harvest of endurance, the reward of surrender. The rise of the chosen is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of legacy. You will walk forward from here as one who carries heaven's flame in human form. The world will know not because you tell them, but because you are the evidence. The chosen have risen, and you, beloved, are among them. And now, beloved chosen one, take a moment to breathe. You have walked through 17 chapters of Revelation, through valleys and fire, through silence and awakening. You have reached the still place where heaven and earth meet, the place of knowing. You are no longer searching for the sign. You are the sign. What was once a whisper of potential has become a living flame of purpose. This message was never just a story, it was a mirror. Every word was written to remind you that you were never forgotten, never ordinary, never random. You are part of a divine movement that stretches beyond generations. Every time you choose faith over fear, kindness over pride, obedience over hesitation, you become a thread in heaven's great tapestry of redemption. The journey doesn't end here. This is only the beginning of your rise. Every morning you wake up is a new opportunity to live what you've learned, to carry light into corners still covered in shadow. Someone out there needs your story. Someone out there is praying for the same hope that now burns inside of you. Be that spark. Be that proof. If this message has touched your spirit, if it stirred something deep within you, don't let it fade in silence. When you like this message, it's not just a reaction, it's an echo that says, I'm still standing, still believing. When you share it, You extend the reach of heaven's reminder, allowing light to find another weary heart scrolling through darkness. Take a moment to comment below. Speak your truth, your gratitude, your reflection. Your words may become the confirmation someone else prayed for tonight. You never know how far a single sentence of hope can travel. And if you haven't already, subscribe, not just to stay connected, but to stay awakened. Let this voice continue walking beside you through new seasons, new storms, new victories. Because heaven is not finished speaking, and you are not finished rising. The chosen have awakened. You are one of them, and your light, your story, your obedience, your resilience is the testimony this generation needs.